Today's episode of Inside Gaming Daily is brought to you by ExpressVPN. You can get 3 months for free by clicking the link in the description or going to expressvpn.com/inside. Hey everyone, and welcome to Inside Gaming for Wednesday.
That's right, and it's a really sad hump today.
Oh,
man. It really is sad because we've got more layoffs.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, it sucks. Another big publisher has let hundreds of employees go, as if this year hasn't been rough enough already.
Yeah, this time it's EA dropping the axe, presumably because there's an empty spot on their trophy shelf where worst company in the world 2019 could go. Yeah. Boom, got it.
So watch out, Facebook, ExxonMobil, and Trump Steaks. You've got stiff competition yet again.
Trump Steaks.
Kotaku broke the story that EA is laying off 350 people across the company, and it looks like they're primarily in marketing and publishing.
This is such a weird thing to say. It's not as massive as the Activision. Yeah, 350 layoffs is not as big as the Activision layoffs, which affected about 800 people last month.
That's true.
But EA's cuts represent nearly 4% of its company, which is about 9,000 people.
Jeez. As part of that, EA's office in Japan is being completely closed down, as well as its offices in Russia.
Sikablayat, baby!
What does that mean?
You gotta drop a Sikablayat on that one.
Brian, tell him what the email said from Andrew Wilson.
EA CEO Andrew Wilson said they're trying to streamline decision-making and marketing and publishing and change some of their international strategies, obviously since they're shutting down 2 major offices.
Yeah.
He wrote, "We have a vision to be the world's greatest games company. If we're honest with ourselves, we're not there right now.
Yeah, no!
We have work to do with our games, our player relationships, and our business."
It is some acknowledgement that
Yeah.
they've had some road bumps, yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, EA in the past has been very austere about such things.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Microtransactions, everyone loves them! Why don't you love them?
They're figuring it out.
Eat them up in FIFA! Where are your Star Wars problems? Buy the blaster!
They're figuring it out real slow.
Yeah, sometimes to be the world's greatest company, you gotta toss out some poor assholes on their ass.
Aw.
Which is not how that saying goes.
Not
but
at all, no.
Apparently at EA it is. They have it printed up on a banner and everything.
An EA rep later said that the employees are getting severance, and their first priority is to help them find new jobs.
Like we said, this has been a tough year for the entire games industry with layoffs at ArenaNet, Activision Blizzard, and now EA.
Yeah, and it wasn't that long ago Telltale Games shut down. I'm sure you guys remember that. That affected another 250 people. That was a big deal.
Clementine will remember that when she's standing in the breadline. But yeah, it's not just Telltale shutting down though, right, Brian? There's been a laundry list of other companies.
In 18 months, we've seen a bunch close down, not just Telltale, Bandai Namco, Vancouver, Capcom Vancouver, Visceral Games, of course, Motiga, Gazillion, the Bartlett Jones Supernatural Detective Agencies, a shame to lose a company with a name like that, Boss Key, Wargaming Seattle, and Carbine.
So why is this all happening? Each situation is different, obviously. Telltale had a lot of internal turmoil, and once they weren't able to secure more funding, the studio just sort of collapsed like my creme brulee.
Activision had apparently invested, I like that you talk about creme brulee like you're so rich. Activision had apparently invested too much in esports, and its breakup with Bungie left a lot of people in the publishing department with nothing to work on. Meanwhile, Blizzard doesn't have a big game plan for this year either, so their publishing department was affected too.
Shit, souffle is the... Anyway, as for EA, these layoffs were all about money, or the lack thereof. Yeah, EA doesn't have enough money. Analysts say that the cuts came after the company missed revenue estimates. EA's revenue was about 90 million less than expected in a recent quarter, thanks to Battlefield 5 underperforming.
That was 7 million copies sold.
But they needed 8! But as for the year, it's on track to deliver about 150 million less than expected.
Yeah, analyst Michael Pachter told Variety, quote, EA's layoffs are less draconian than Activision's, and it's clear from the letter that they are trimming staff where they aren't getting the anticipated return, Russia and Japan. We're at the very, very beginning of a recession, and things are going to kind of go down for a second. So.
Yeah, and overall this year looks like it's going to continue to be a challenge for the whole games industry. There are a couple of factors beyond just the economy at large, right, Brian?
Yeah, for a lot of the big gaming companies, 2019 is looking like an anemic year with relatively few titles in the pipe. That's according to SuperData co-founder Joost van Drunen, who added, for many of them, it's better to stick with what they've got than to spend big on something new. The current title lineup reflects that.
And everybody's tightening their belt. That's just kind of the way it goes. There are also some huge industry-wide changes on the horizon as well.
Yeah, for one, the next console generation is expected to kick off next year. We're going to hear about it pretty soon, hopefully at E3. This causes more disruption in games production than you might think. Development teams have to create entirely new tool sets and an entirely new fork of game development for a platform that is guaranteed to have a pretty small installed base at launch.
Yeah, that's really
that means for an entire stretch of time, you have to invest heavily into future products without pretty much any return. Accordingly, we see a drop in active releases and the jobs that promote them. Likewise, very few of the layoffs we've seen have hit the game development groups themselves. It's mostly PR, publishing, and analytics. Hopefully once the development tools are in place and the new consoles are out in the wild, publishers can go back to annual or biannual releases from their tentpole franchises, and then those jobs come back too.
Yeah.
But boy, is it rough to balance those books when you have hundreds of employees sitting around with nothing to work on.
Yeah, Brian, well, there's another issue looming as well, yeah?
A potentially really big issue, and that's streaming. We saw Google jump in with Stadia last week. That could be a huge platform change about to happen, especially if Google can solve the latency issue.
Yeah, and of course you got Apple, like we just talked about yesterday, dipping its toe into the industry with Apple Arcade, but it's the streaming issue that's got a lot of publishers uncertain about the console, the box future.
Yeah, it's a lot of platforms that on their surface level seem to be like, we're gonna give your games away for free.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Don't you want to make less money?
Yeah, no.
So it's great for players to have more access to games and less friction involved with getting into gaming.
Yeah.
But none of these services so far have really said how they're gonna get more money into the publishers' pockets aside from the Epic Games Store.
Epic Games Store is the only one that's trying to do it. All of that has to be really disruptive for the industry, all the streaming and stuff. Maybe even more than mobile and Facebook gaming were in the aughts.
What a
So.
horrible time period that was. Everything was trying to be
Farmville?
Oh. This industry turmoil can create some big winners, especially for those companies that are doing the disrupting.
Sure.
But it also creates big problems for the existing players. Just look at the music industry. That's been completely disheveled.
Well, look at the news industry too. When's the last time you read a physical newspaper?
Brian?
It's been a long time, and I used to work for one for years.
Oof.
Yeah, we
Jeez.
can thank the absolute destruction of traditional journalism in America for Brian writing us scripts about digital toys every day.
Now I write dick jokes on YouTube.
Hey, cool. It's more fun though, right?
Way more fun.
There we
God,
go.
if that's not American culture in a nutshell, I don't know what is.
Y'all will have to explain to me what creme brulee is, because we don't have that in Texas.
Only the rich man over here knows what it is. So, as for video games, Van Drunen also said that all this uncertainty, quote, forces publishers to reduce risk and cut costs, meaning bank on franchises, which is part of what we're seeing right now.
Nobody knows what's going to happen, so nobody's making any big bets right now, and big corporations are notoriously very averse to risk.
Of course.
Especially when you have millions of investor dollars riding on your quarterly reports, and AAA games take years and millions of dollars to make.
Yep.
So,
Damn you, Google Stadia! Whatever happens, it always sucks to hear about people losing their jobs, of course, and we hope they all land on their feet. I really do. I hope that now's the time to find a job, I think, before the actual recession hits. So hopefully, maybe EA was helping them. I don't know about that one, but yeah, I know.
as for EA, it's pretty clearly in cost-cutting mode right now. A lot of companies are,
Yeah.
which sucks. It's a fact of life in the corporate world, especially in gaming, man. Gaming is just seasonal with the way they bring in and kick out people.
Yeah.
It's all based around that one big release, and kind of like with Battlefield 5, if you don't hit those numbers, it's very bad for the next year.
Brian, what's going to happen next? What's going on?
They're waiting to see what's going to happen with the next-gen consoles, and like I said before, with streaming, because if that takes off and we get a Netflix for gaming, that could level some of the existing big players.
Yeah, that's true.
And maybe all the people who are getting booted out of traditional games PR and promotion and stuff like that, they can move over to streaming.
Yeah. It's an uncertain time, but hopefully we've seen the last of these big layoffs. I don't know that we have.
I don't think so either. We are at the end of the heyday of the sort of Xbox One, PS4 era.
Yeah.
We're in a transitionary period now. Nobody knows where to put their money anymore, kind of like we already said. So what we need is a big hit. We need a big hit on a new service. And then everyone's going to throw money at it. Everyone thought VR was going to be that for the longest time.
Yeah.
Turns out, nope.
No, not at all.
So yeah, everyone's looking for the next big thing and we just don't know what it is yet.
Brian, I got bad news. You're going to have to go back and write for that newspaper.
Like and subscribe, share this video with your friends. I don't want to go back.
Today's episode of Inside Gaming is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Now, if you don't know what a VPN is, basically it's a private connection between you and a virtual server that then routes your internet connection to the rest of the internet. So instead of everything being traced back to you, it's traced back to this server that's not connected to you, and any of the data back and forth between you and that server is encrypted. So essentially, all of your internet traffic is protected and can't be traced back to you. What does that give you? Privacy. Ultimate internet privacy. So if you're using public Wi-Fi or anything like that, anyone on that network can see all of that traffic. If you bounce it through a VPN though, nobody can see anything and you are protected. Also, if you're bouncing your internet connection to another server, it can make your internet traffic look like it's coming from a different territory. So, I don't know, let's bounce a theoretic around here. Let's say you're in a nation of the world, I don't know, let's say Europe, that maybe theoretically has just passed a law that maybe have a profound effect on how you surf the internet or access its contents. If you use a VPN, you can make it seem like your internet connection is coming from a different region, which might have an effect on that particular issue should it happen. We have a special offer for you guys. You can get 3 months for free by going to expressvpn.com/inside. That link's in the description, easy to click on there. But once more, that's 3 months for free by clicking the link in the description or going to expressvpn.com/inside. Thank you for the sponsorship, ExpressVPN. Take back your privacy today with ExpressVPN.
Well, apparently it surprised some Activision investors too, because a law firm is saying it started a class action lawsuit claiming that the publisher made materially false and misleading statements regarding the split with Bungie.
Even though Destiny fans cheered Bungie for taking the reins of the series back, they took it back. Activision investors were not pleased with the announcement at all. The publisher's stock dropped immediately after that announcement.